As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has been an ongoing issue and virus that has affected the entirety of the world and shaken it to its core. Here we discuss how the virus and the lockdowns have affected the UK's art industry, something that holds massive significance both in the modern and historical history of our nation.
Look, I'm afraid no responsible Prime Minister can ignore the message of those figures. And when I told you 2 weeks ago that we were pursuing a local and a regional approach to tackling this virus, I believed then, and I still believe passionately, that was the right thing to do. Because we know the cost of these restrictions, the damage they do, the impact on jobs and on livelihoods and on people's mental health. And no one wants to be imposing these kinds of measures anywhere.
It's kind of, I think, almost highlighted the way that we kind of take the arts for granted. And even though during the lockdown, the arts is kind of what saved a lot of people, it still shows like the way, like the government schemes, like money, and just the way that the whole arts industry was just referred to throughout the whole thing, kind of highlighted how much people think it's a hobby and not a needed thing for our society.
During the now second of two lockdowns that we have been placed under, we have seen an approximately 66% increase in media consumption all across the board. This is mainly due to the fact that we have been forced to stay indoors and there's been a lack of social communication face to face. This isn't just for the media industry as well, this is for small businesses, coffee shops, cafes, all the way through to our industry with media, TV and film, theatre. It's led to a period of time where art has been quite physically removed from the nation's hearts, and it has had quite a negative impact on a lot of people.
The art industry within the UK is something rather bright, creative and diverse, along with being quite beautiful. Having so many different talents, so many different genres, and when many think of the UK they think of William Shakespeare, and quite rightfully so. He started the theatre industry brilliantly, something that still continues to this day. But with lockdown having happened, with COVID-19, so many of these beautiful and brilliant talent are being stifled because they're not able to go onto the dance floor or cook in a large kitchen with others and friends, or maybe even perform on stage in front of thousands. It stifles the absolute heart of our country and nation when we don't have these things.
So as you may be aware, me and my colleagues are not the only ones that may have been impacted by this lockdown. There are people all across the UK and frankly the world for that matter that have had the arts industry taken from them and have had jobs taken from them, their livelihoods taken. For some of these people, this is their futures. Art students, media students like myself and my colleagues have had, quite frankly, opportunities taken away from them. And we were lucky enough to catch up with two of these people who feel the same way, and we managed to ask them a few questions about their life post-lockdown.
In general, it's there's only really been negative effects on the art industry. I think it's as well. I think the art industry, in respect, is different from many other industries insofar as we need bums on seats, really, especially for theatre. It is a live, kinetic event. It's between audiences, live audiences and live actors, and when theatres are closed down, there are no real venues except outside venues, and even still, those are pretty few and far between. So I do think for the most part the art industry has taken a heavy beating because of COVID, a heavy beating. I think the lockdowns, especially the actual implementation of the lockdowns themselves, have really not just the old COVID atmosphere, but locking down theatres, that's been the big ones, because I think I don't want to assume too much, but even when lockdown was lifted and some theatres were back open as well. There were some different seating arrangements, one seat in between each single person or couple. Even then, theatres could make a living, get some sort of revenue, some sort of income. But again, during these times, reminds me almost like bars and whatnot. That kind of culinary industry. It's just going to suffer just because of that. You can't, for as many, Zoom interviews and Zoom projects that are available. Theatre can't do that. Theatre can't perform like that, really, at a sustainable level anyway.
It's left many people out of work. Obviously, from my experience, my plans were completely ruined by COVID. Therefore, I went into teaching. But I think a lot of people, especially those who are starting out in the arts industry, graduating and everything, it's kind of been a shit time. My experience was interesting because obviously it was my final year of uni. So it was my last term. I did first harsh lockdown in York with two of my housemates, which was quite nice because we were kind of all going through the same thing together. And it was just I had my 21st in lockdown.
I feel that pain.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? It's kind of like, I don't know, because it is an important birthday and you have all these plans and then they go to shit. But when I went home, it was really difficult. It was great because more space, I could do my own thing, but I found it when I was doing my dissertation and when I was finishing uni, I found it really difficult, mental health, because everything for me was just going down the drain. Like, I had this apprenticeship that I was supposed to be doing for directing, and that went down the drain. I was freaking out because I had to figure out. Suddenly, this was literally like my plan. My plan was always I was going to go to Germany. I always had this plan since I started uni. I then had this plan to do this apprenticeship over summer and find work out there. And suddenly, within 2 months, everything just upended itself. I had no backup, which probably kind of then highlighted that I should probably always have a backup. I had no idea. I was literally frantically finding jobs. I was like, should I go back to uni? I don't want to go back to uni. I want to stop that shit. Do I go back to uni? Whatever. And I was freaking out because I was like, I need to make money. I could stay at my parents, but they're not in the same position as me. They're having their own problems with it, and I'm having my own problems with it, which can't meet me halfway because they're so different and so varying.
As an actor starting out, you're already on tenuous ground with your job availability, and finding work. It's always painful going around and saying, okay, I'm an actor, and then people are like, so what are you in at the moment? You're like, currently unemployed. I'm an actor in searching for work at the moment. But this is for me personally, it's I think, as you can tell, it's kind of, I suppose when you go into acting, it's also many people go into there because they love it as well. It's like, it's a passion. It really is a passion. And when you can't fulfill that, you can't accomplish that, both for work and as well for fulfilling that love, that dream, it's pretty heart-wrenching, really. It takes a serious beating, especially if you find a lot of passion in that, it can beat you down quite a bit, I suppose. Especially at the start, I've been working Deliveroo even before, just to make ends meet. But especially when you sort of start considering yourself more a professional delivery driver now than professional actor, especially when that's something you've always wanted to do and you really want to do, it can really take a bit of a toll on your mental health, especially trying to keep yourself involved, keep yourself in the acting game. That's very tricky. You know, there's only so much reading you can do, so many books you can kind of throw yourself into on acting texts and plays and whatnot before you just get this urge to go back out there. But obviously there's no opportunities. So it's a bad itch you can't scratch in that sense.
Without the art industry, through lockdown we'd have barely any television or film to watch. No fictional books or poetry to read. And it would have been a very dull and mundane few months indoors.
That's quite right, because it'd be a nation without X Factor, Come Dine With Me, James Bond films, Shakespearean theatre. I mean, it's an England without art, a nation without arts, and in my eyes, a country without a soul. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.